Welcome to week 4 of our make along. It's the last and final week, and so we have quite a bit to cover, but I think we're going to be able to do it. I think it's going to be good. I'm just going to wait a moment for some people to come in. For the replay warriors, just sit tight. Make sure you have something to write with. Maybe you can take notes as I go along. I do want to say this, and I will repeat this quite a few times throughout week number 4. I will post in the post tab the actual recipe of what you're going to need for week 4. So, hi Tank, welcome in, and Margaret, hello Imani, hello Jeannie, welcome in. So I'm just going to wait a moment because the notification is just going out now. Hi Penny and Christy and Barb and Debbie, hello Patsy and Sugar, hello to all of you guys. So yes, happy Thursday. Right? It's Thursday. This is week 4 of our make along. Very excited to finally get to the last week and cover with you guys some really important information to wrap this up. I want to let you guys know that I will be sure to include the links of the prior weeks in the show notes of this particular video. So weeks 1, 2, and 3 will be included in the show notes here. Please feel free to go to the post tab to get the recipe notes from prior weeks if you need them. Okay. What I have done so far was given you guys the building blocks of how to put together a cardigan. Once you complete this, it's going to be completely up to you how you tailor your cardigan for yourself. So we've done the big Boxy Cardi. If you want something more form-fitting, then obviously you'll take this recipe and you'll make the adjustments that you need for you. So that's pretty much the soup to nuts kind of situation for what we're making here, okay? So Army Mom Crochet is sitting in the bushes trying to catch up on the cardi. Well, I appreciate you. I love the reference. So, okay. Anyway, guys, hello, Sapphire, welcome in. It's an intimate crowd, guys, but then again, it is, for the cardi. So we have a question. How big is the ribbing? 2 inches. So let me just show you what I have here. For those of you guys that don't know, I just showcased my cardigan on my members only Zoom. So this is what the ribbing looks like once we get there. So this is the ribbing of the cardigan. I'll show you guys up close what this looks like. I'm going to bring you guys to the tutorial table so you can see this a little closer. But the ribbing consists of 5 rounds. And what it is 5 rows. It's 2 rows of single crochet, and then it's 1 row of a treble crochet, and then 2 rows of a single crochet. And you're flipping your work each time. Okay, so you're going to start on the outside. You're going to start with your work right side out. You're not putting it inside out, it's right side out. And then you're going to start with a single crochet all the way around, single crochet. Flip your work, single crochet back around. For row number 3, it's going to be a treble crochet up and around, and that's going to be on the outside. So out, in, out, in, out. So that's kind of what you need, all right? So let me just show you this again. So it's 5 rounds. You start with 2 rows. It's 2 rows of single crochet, and then it's 1 row of a treble, and then 2 rows of a single. Okay? Now, I traditionally do not use buttons on my cardigan. That's just me. I installed these buttons just to show you guys how to install the buttons for yours. So this is how you're going to install the buttons. So for my cardigan, I have 4 buttons here. Okay, so the way you do this, if you look at here, I have my pack of buttons, wooden buttons off of Amazon. So the buttons have 2 top holes and 2 bottom holes. Before you even start, you need to make sure that your darning needle can fit through these holes. If you get 1.5 inch buttons, it will fit through the hole, okay? let me grab my darning needle, and I'm just going to show you that you need to make sure that it does this, okay? So grab the necessary button for this, okay? So anyway, now that I mentioned that, what you're going to need to do is to look at it like this. You have 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom. When you look at the ribbing, you're going to take 2 stitches. The top part right here is going to be for the top 2 holes. Go down 2, and this is going to be for the bottom 2 holes. So you're just going to wrap around those 2 stitches to get this on there. Make it nice and tight. All right, so that is how you're installing the buttons. Okay? Any questions about that? I just want to make sure everybody has that. You're literally just going to take these top 2 holes, go around the post of the stitch, and then hug 2 stitches, and then come down under. If you want, I will draw a diagram so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about on paper. But yes. All right, now the question came up. What if I don't want trebles for my ribbing? You don't have to have trebles if you don't want. I made trebles to make sure that my buttons fit through the stitches. Okay? It will literally go through every single one of these, and you can place your buttons wherever you want on your cardigan. That's why I did it like this. So again, this pattern is literally universal. Regardless of what size your cardigan is, you will be able to install buttons if that's what you want. And you can put it anywhere you want along the ribbing. Okay? So I'm going to put this on very quickly just to kind of show you. And the ribbing, here it is. I'm stretching it out so you can see. Single, single, treble, single, single. All right? Are we using the smaller hook for the ribbing like on the very great question? So no. You are using, welcome to the club, Michelle. So happy you joined us. So you are using the same size hook that you are using for your project. You do not hook down for this part of the project. This needs to be the same size as this. Otherwise, it'll shrink and it'll look really weird. You want your cuffs to shrink in. You want the bottom to shrink in. But yeah, so there's no specific buttonholes because all of the spaces could qualify as a buttonhole. All right. Now, if you want to use a smaller button, use a smaller stitch. Use an extended double or use a double crochet, you know. So what yarn did I use? So I used Premier Puzzle and Red Heart Super Saver in Soft Navy. I ran 2 yarns together. All right. Where would we place our buttons if we are using rectangle buttons? You can use the same way, as long as there are 2 holes at the top, 2 holes at the bottom. If that does not work, some people may have special buttons that will not have those holes. That's fine. What I will suggest is that you install your button. Am I back? I should be back. Are we good? Let me know. Anybody? Okay, thank you. So yeah, this is the bottom of the cardigan. So like I said, you want this to be flush with your work. You want the bottom ribbing to go in a little bit, okay? So, all right, perfect. Does anybody have any other questions about the cardigan? You never heard my button answer, so sorry. As for the button, if your button that you're installing does not have 2 and 2, and you know, maybe it's going to be difficult to install the buttons, what I will suggest to you is to install your buttons on rows 1 and 2 of your ribbing. It gets really, really big. I mean, really hard to show because it's heavy. So instead of installing your buttons directly in the middle, what I would recommend is perhaps installing your buttons here it's not going to matter. Your cardigan is going to be covered regardless, but between rows 1 and 2 is where I would suggest that you install your button if the method that I'm showing you does not work for you. So again, you're taking 2 of these stitches and you're hugging them like this. So 2 buttonholes at the top, 2 buttonholes at the bottom, and you're wrapping it to hold it in like this. Hopefully that helps. Okay, but if this doesn't work and you want a solid portion to attach your buttons on, you're going to attach right here, all the way down. Okay, so yeah, hopefully that helps. Now for today, in addition to the ribbing, which we covered, and again, it's going to be single, single, treble, single, single. Okay, and that's what it's going to look like. All right. Now, if you're wanting to install a hood, your voice isn't going what you're talking about. I'm not sure what you mean, Margaret. Let me see here. Let me put this on. So this one here, I'm at a different phase in the cardigan, and I kept it this way because I want to show you guys, for those who want hoods, how are you going to do hoods? Samantha, the yarn that I used was Premier Puzzle in Backgammon, and I paired it with Red Heart Soft Navy. I ran both of them together. Okay. Let's see. All right. So this one here is Hobby Lobby, Nova Scotia Sky. Okay. So for those of you guys who are interested in putting a hood, all right, like how do you measure for a hood? First of all, you're going to need to put it on. All right. Put your cardigan on, and you're going to, let me remove these. I don't need these anymore. You're going to have to refresh if I'm out of sync. Let's see here. When I froze, I refreshed, so it's not me. So for those of you guys who want to install a hood, put your cardigan on. What you're going to do is place your stitch markers at your collarbone. Okay? So put it on and take your fingers and feel for where your collarbone is. All right? So my collarbone on both sides are right here. All right? So I'm going to literally attach my stitch marker at my collarbone. All right? And I'm just going to feel right here, and I'm going to put it right there. Another way to do this is to literally do one side. It's really difficult to put this on while you're wearing it. But anyway, that's not even right. Right here. It's like putting on a pin on a lapel. That's what it feels like. At any rate, you're going to put this at your collarbone right here. Okay? Once it's on there, that is your mark. You're going to take it off and lay it flat. You're going to make sure that everything is even. And by even, I mean, remember where you started your panel. Count down the rows. Okay? So you saw I took those stitch markers off. So you're going to count your rows down. And what you're going to do is make sure that the rows coming down are the same as the rows coming down on this side. Right. You're going to count the rows down and make sure that they're even. From here, okay, you're going to horseshoe it. You're going to go in rows. You're going to horseshoe from one stitch marker to the other stitch marker. And you're going to go back and forth, back and forth. You're going to go around, okay? Horseshoe. You're going to continue doing that until you're able to take the sides and close over your head. Okay? And that's how you're going to do it. So you're going to flip every round. Your entire project has to flip. Your sleeves flip, your panels flip, everything flips to keep it, seamless and to make it make sense. And Otherwise, it's going to look like you crocheted that and, you know, attached it from another project. So it's going to have to flip. So you're going to come down and then flip your work and go back around. Flip your work, go back around. It's going to be the same way you did your sleeves. So where you start to count the rows down from the neck, from where your from the top part of your panel, you're going to come down and count your rows. Do one, place the stitch marker at your collarbone. This is where my collarbone is. Count your rows down. Once you have that, come over here and put your stitch marker on the same row on this side, okay? And horseshoe it back and forth, same stitch, go around and around and around, and you're going to go all the way up until you're able to close your hood. And when you close your, when you're here, right, take your work and flip it inside out and join it at the top. You're going to join it at the top like this, going down. Does everyone understand that? If not, I will re-explain it. I don't mind at all. I promise. And again, all of this will be written out for you guys, so you can go to the post tab for like reminders and things like that. Just want to make sure that you guys got this, okay? It's really easy. I mean, people make it seem like it's rocket science, but I promise you, it's a really easy concept. And the thing about it is when you go to do your ribbing, when you go to do this, when you go to do your ribbing, you are, instead of going around here, you're going to come up and around the front of your hood and down. So you're going to, it's a little longer for those with hoods. So is the stitch count the same all the way up? Yes. You're not increasing, you're not decreasing. You're literally keeping your stitch count exactly the same. That's a very good question, Connie. You're going to go all the way up until the height is to a point where you can actually close. Is there another question? Any advice on how to avoid pointy corner on the hood? So when you go to, you're going to be working inside out, right? So what I would strongly encourage that you do for those who don't really want the point, what you can do is when you go to close off, when you go to like do your slip stitches to close your panels, when you get to that corner piece there, what you can do is you can take a darning needle and you can whip stitch yourself a little curve. And then when you go to flip your work back out, you will no longer have the point. It will be curved, and that extra yarn that was in the corner is now in that corner part of your hood. So you're not even going to see it. No one's going to see it. It's not going to protrude or be obnoxious. It's literally just a way for you to curve your corner instead of having it point like this. So it'll be fine. And that's probably the best way, the easiest way to do it. Okay. Will it be a tutorial? This is just a make along, Denny. So what I do is I give you the building blocks and you kind of put it together. But what I'm going to do is the reason why we're sitting like this is because I'm going to take the camera, flip it, and put it over the tutorial table, and I'm going to show you up close what the stitches actually look like and what I mean about the buttons. But I wanted to be face to face with you guys to show you like what I'm talking about for the hood people, for those who want hoods. Okay, so again, if you want hoods, place the stitch marker at your collarbone. That's where you measure your collarbone. And then you're going to go back and forth in a horseshoe fashion. No increases, no decreases. Do as many rows as you need until you're able to close your hood. All right. Let's see here. Your explanation makes it seem very straightforward. Yes. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I was going to do the hood, but not sure. I just need to get my back panel finished. Yes. And again, you will have these videos to refer back to. They're going to be in one playlist. I'm going to attach weeks 1, 2, and 3 in the show notes of this live for you guys, so you can bounce back and forth. So for those who don't know, maybe this is the first time you're popping in here. Week 1 was the measurements. Like, how do I begin? I show you how to find your measurement, and then you do your back panel. Week number 2, we did the front panels, and then you join up the sides. Week number 3, we did the sleeves and the cuffs. And then week 4, finishing touches. So it's pretty straightforward. Once you do your very first cardigan, I promise you, you're going to come back using the same construction, but you're going to tailor it better each and every time that you make it for yourself. You may want to change up stitches. You may want to change up the sizing a little bit. But now that you have the basic construction, you're going to be able to come back and just do all the things with your cardigan. Yes, do your hood first for those who are doing hoods. Do your hood first, and then the ribbing, instead of coming back around here, obviously, you're going to come up and around the front of your hood. Okay? So you're building like an igloo over your head. That's basically what you're doing. And the only line that you'll have on your hood is the one that's over your head. All right, when you go to close in the top. All right? So it's only going to be from the back of your head here to the front of your head. Everything else is joined in, so it'll be nice and flowy and all the things. So the one thing I want to tell you guys, it's literally up to you where you start. Meaning, you can start on the inside or the outside. My suggestion would be to look at your back panel. And I'll show you this under the camera. Look at the back panel. You want to make sure that that is continuous. So if the next row based off of your back panel, if you're supposed to flip it to work on the outside, that's where you start. Okay? What stitch do you use to sew in the hood? So I do a slip stitch. So I go into, because it's the hood, I'm literally making sure that I go into the back loops of both sides and I do a slip stitch. That way when I go to finish, it'll be a flat join. The front loops of those both sides will literally be in line with that slip stitch. So it's not going to protrude out or stick out. So again, a back loop slip stitch from the back corner up to the front, or actually you're supposed to start in the front. Start your join in the front and go to the back. That way that tail is hidden in the back and you can just sew in your front tail right there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take us to the tutorial table. We're going to flip it and I'm going to show you all the things, okay? So from here, let me just adjust. We're going to go on a field trip, guys. All right. I'm going to literally take you to the ceiling and then flip you to the table. Okay. And we're going to flip. Ta-da! All right, so we're at the tutorial table, and this is the cardigan that I just had on. Now, for this particular cardigan, I need to decide which side am I going to start my hood. Let's see, Amber has a question. Is the foundation row of the hood going to be, hold on, it's going to be constructed similar to how the sleeves were started? Yes. So you mean like your anchor stitch? So no. You are going to follow suit with whatever stitch you're using here. So for me, my hood is literally right here. This is my hood. My stitch for this particular cardigan was a double crochet. So my anchor row is going to be double crochet and not a single or anything like that. It's literally going to be, it's going to be the same stitch. And based off of what I'm seeing here, this is the back of my stitch. Like I said, look at the back panel and determine whether this is the front of your work right here or the back of your work. So right now, I'm looking at the back of the stitch here. So my hood will now have to be worked on the like here. I'm going to work on the inside, if that makes any sense, because I want to keep the pattern in, out, you know, front, back in line. Okay. So again, for those of you guys who are wondering, like, which side do I start on with my hood? What we're trying to do here is look at the back panel and determine if this top row is the front of my work or the back of my work. Okay. So yes, let me see here. Let's see. The anchor stitch, yes. Okay. I'm just reading the comments. I apologize, guys. Okay, so because these stitches right here are facing away from me, I now know that this first row here needs to be facing me. So if you want, you can treat this like a panel. You're literally going to attach your stitch right here, and you're going to go all the way across to this stitch marker. You're going to chain up or do your stack singles, however you want to do that. Regardless of what your stitch is, just go up and go back and forth. You have to make sure you flip your work, okay? So you're using the same exact stitch. So this particular cardigan, I used a double crochet, so my hood will also be a double crochet, all right? And I'm going to continue going back and forth until I get to the height of the top of my head. And then I'm going to join it together like this. Imagine this is the top of my hood. I'm going to flip my work inside out, remember? And then I'm going to take the back loops of my stitches and do a slip stitch join. That way, when I go to flip it, it'll be flat. Okay? Does anybody have any questions on the hood? I just want to make sure we're all on the same page, because some of you guys are making hoods and some of you guys are not. So if you're making a hood, this is how you do it. Remember, measure your collarbone, wear it, put the stitch marker at your collarbone, and count your rows. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 rows here. This is my back panel, right? Back panel. Actually, wait a minute. 1, 2, 3. So I only have 3 rows. So this side will also need to be 3 rows. 1, 2, and see, that's wrong. See? It's good to count. 1, 2, and 3. So on this side, my stitch marker needs to come down. So I have 3 rows here, 3 rows here. Now that looks perfectly even. And I ran 2 strands of yarn together for this one too. Both of the yarns here are the same yarn. So this is Hobby Lobby. I love this yarn, Nova Scotian Sky. Okay? So, because I use double crochet, I'm going to use double crochet for my hood. Now, for those of you guys who are wondering, how many stitches do I put on my sides? Because I know how many to put here, right? We know every stitch gets an upstairs neighbor. But what about the sides here? Because we have stitches that are going the other direction. So I mentioned this last week. If you are making a double crochet cardigan, in each one of these posts, you need to put 2 double crochets in each of the posts. Now remember, for me, I chained up. I used the chain 2, not counting as a stitch. So for this row for me, that's a stitch. I put 2 double crochets there. Here I have the stitch plus a chain 2. I'm going to go around both of those. So 2 double crochets around the chain 2 and the stitch. And then for this row here, it's just a stitch. So it's 2 double crochets. Okay? And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Okay? So now I'm wondering how one would do the moss stitch. Well, you would treat it the same. Like if it's a single crochet stitch, then you treat it like a single crochet. So you just treat it like a moss stitch and use your spacing wisely. So don't cram your stitches in there, otherwise it's going to buckle and look weird. Lay your stitches out, make sure it lays flat, and place your stitches, using your best judgment. And just make sure that if you're using the moss stitch, that your last stitch is a single crochet. That way you can chain up and then go into the chain space for row number 2. Okay? So it's pretty straightforward when you're making your hood. I mean, it looks a little intimidating, but I promise you it's not. Just stick to your stitch, use this measurement, and again, it's pretty universal. Use your collarbone. Your collarbone is kind of where you want to start your stitches for your hood. All right? Any other questions about the hood? I'm going to grab some coffee really quick. Okay, so from here, I'm going to move on. I'm going to show you guys the ribbing. So for those of you guys who are not adding a hood, we're ready for the ribbing. Okay, now before I show you the ribbing, I mentioned it earlier, I'm going to tell you guys again. You do not hook down for the ribbing for this part of your cardigan. This needs to lay flat, okay? So I'm going to bring this up and I'm going to show you. It's heavy at this point. Heavy, heavy, heavy. All right, so this is the cardigan, and you want your stitches to lay completely flat. If you hook down, your stitches will shrink and it's going to cause something like this to happen. You don't want that. You want to make sure that your work lays flat. Okay, so let me bring this up. Rows 1 and 2, let me zoom in. So I have 5 rows here. I have row 1 and 2. Both of these rows are single crochet. Row number 3 is treble crochets. All right. 4 and 5 are also single crochets. You're going to start row number 1 on the outside of your work. And you are going to treat this whole entire row up and around the neck as a row. So it's not a round, it's a row. So you're going to work row 1 on the outside. You're going to chain up and you're going to come to the inside of your work. When you put on the cardigan to mark stitches for the hood, hold on. I need to see your comment again. When you put on the cardigan to mark stitches for the hood, is it wrong side still facing out? So yes. No. I'm sorry. You're going to put it on like you're wearing it to go outside. So you're going to put it right side out. Good question. Welcome to the officials, Denny. I'll post in the Facebook page and community page when I finish. Okay, I'm just reading the comments. Okay, you're back. All right. So I know I have you guys totally zoomed close, but what you're looking at now are the 5 rows. So you have 2 rows of singles here, row 1 and 2, and then this long piece here is the treble, and then 2 rows of single crochets. So here is the cardigan, and your anchor row of single crochets needs to be appropriate for the size of the stitch that you're working. Okay, so my cardigan was half double crochet. So half double crochets, you're going to put your stitches in 1.5. I covered this last week. I'm going to back up. All right, so this part of my cardigan is half double crochets. This is my anchor row right here. So the way I'm doing it is I'm placing my single crochet in a row and then in between the row. 1.5, 1.5. Now if you have a double crochet, you're going to place 2 singles on the post. Okay? And this right here is a post. So you're going to do 2 singles if you're doing a double. If you're doing a treble cardigan, it's 3 singles. Okay? So again, row number 1, you start on the outside. Row number 2, inside, and you're flipping your work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So row number 5, you're ending your work on the outside. Okay? So let me draw some diagrams. Some of you guys love pictures, so I'm going to oblige and draw some pictures. All right. Let me grab my paper. We have paper and we have a pen. I usually use a marker, but I can't find it right now. So anyway, all right. So for the ribbing, the ribbing is 5 rows. Row 1, single crochet. Row 2, single crochet. Row 3, treble crochet. Row 4 and row 5 are single crochet. Okay? So, what I'm going to tell you is, as far as stitch placement is concerned, for example, this line right here represents the side of my cardigan. This is kind of where my buttons will go. I'll draw buttons. Okay. We're going to pretend that this row right here is the anchor row. Pretend the rest of your side here doesn't exist. So what I'm going to do here is draw the rows. Really quick. I'm going to draw rows. And here are the posts of the stitch. Okay, hold on one second, guys. I'm drawing. These circles, these ovals, the outside is where people see, correct, yes. They call that the right side. The right side is the outside. The wrong side is the inside. So here are your rows. Okay, there's your cardigan. Those are your buttons. These are your rows. Now to attach, to start, okay. I got to slide over here because your comments are covering my picture. All right, so when you go to start your work, all right, you're going to anchor right here. All right, I'm going to say that these are double crochet rows, and these are the posts. These are the posts. Now, for row 1, we're going to do single crochets. How many single crochets do I put per row? You're going to do 2. 2 singles for each row, and you're going to put them around the posts of your stitch. That is how you are going to anchor your work, like that. Okay? If you have treble crochets, if these are all trebles, you're going to place 3 single crochets on each row. Okay? It's pretty straightforward in that regard. Now, if it's a half double crochet, I'm going to draw on this side because I'm running out of space. So to anchor your work, if you have a half double crochet, you're going to place 1 per row, right? But you're also going to place 1 in between the rows. It's 1.5. So you're going to place 1 on the bar and 1 in between the rows. That's for a half double crochet. All right. If it's a double crochet, you place 2 per bar. Okay. Yeah, you don't have to worry about the buttons if you don't want to. That's completely optional. I traditionally do not use buttons or pockets on my cardigans, but a lot of people do. So, yep. So we have half double crochets here. Again, when you go to do your singles, when you go to attach your work, it's going to look like that. All right. So I'm going to pull this up and I'm going to show you what the buttons look like when they're installed. So let me pull this up. Okay. Well, that's super close. Sorry, guys. So here are my buttons. If the cardigan wasn't so big. So we have the 5 rows here. And I anchored my buttons around the posts of my trebles. Okay. Like I said, you have 2 holes at the top, 2 holes at the bottom. You are literally going in the top hole. You're going to go around your posts and come through the bottom hole and come out the bottom corner. You're going to come over to the other side and go in the bottom and then go around 2 of the posts and come out the top. And you're just going to weave around the holes, and you want to squeeze these 2 posts together. And it's going to look like this. You're squeezing these 2 posts together. That's how it should look. And you don't have to worry about buttonholes because the button will literally go in between any of the stitches. It works regardless of where you want to place your buttons because, you know, lots of people, all different sizes, want to make this cardigan, and this was the only way that I felt that would work. in terms of buttonholes. So yeah, your buttonholes are wherever you want to put them. They're everywhere, and it's part of the design. So yeah, it's a piece of cake. And that's kind of how you do it. Any questions? Everyone's quiet. Let's see. So yeah, these are wooden buttons I ordered from Amazon. But yes, so you can find these literally anywhere. You can go to Walmart and get them. You can order from Amazon. I just Amazoned it. Let's see. Part of the size inclusive design, yes. So obviously, I needed to make sure that it was universal, and this was the only way that I could really do it to include everyone. And so yeah. And so again, for week 4, you're going to need to attach these 5 rows onto your work. Make sure that your hook size matches your panels. Once you're done that, then you can attach the buttons if you want. My buttons are, well, hold on, do I have them? I believe these are 2-inch buttons. Hold on. Where is my measuring tape? You know, we have it all week long, and then when you, oh, here it is. Okay, I have it. No, they're 1.5-inch buttons. Sorry. 1.5 inches. Okay. So 1.5-inch buttons works perfectly for a treble. If you want smaller buttons, make sure you're doing a smaller stitch. Okay. Use the treble if you're planning on using 1.5-inch buttons. If you want to use a 1-inch button for the size of yarn that we are using here, then you're going to need to do a double crochet. All right. You're using an L hook for your main part of your cargi. What hook size would you recommend for ribbing on cuffs and bottom? So if you're using an 8, then I would hook down to a 7. If you don't have a 7, a K, a 6.5. Can I do my ribbing and buttons before my sleeves? Yes, you can definitely do that ahead of time. Yes. Sleeves are very difficult. Just ask Kendall. She'll tell you. She will tell you they're difficult, but if you follow the recipe, you're going to be fine. All right. Yes. So you can place your, yes, just read Yvette's comments. It's perfectly fine wherever you want to put it. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Any other questions, guys? Again, week 4 is just finishing touches. You want to make sure that you're putting on the rows appropriately. You do 2 rows of singles, treble, single, single. And poor Kendall, right? We love Kendall. She's a doll. So yeah. For me, I used an 8mm hook on my ribbing, 8mm for my panels here. But down here, I hooked down to a 7. Okay. You have all the videos saved to your watch list. That's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. I think in the future, if I ever make a wearable on my channel and I did it as a tutorial, like recorded tutorial, the way you guys are watching me do this is probably how I'm going to record it. Because I don't want to be tied down to stitches because it's a wearable. And here on this channel, we are size inclusive. So we go by measurements and not by stitches. Okay. So I'm putting that out there, letting you guys know if you ever see me do a wearable again, it's going to be by measurement and not by stitches. Let's see. Would like to start from the beginning. Could you post the first? Yes. So I mentioned this before, but for those who are coming in, I will attach the first 3 weeks of our make along in the show notes of this video once we're finished. So everything will be in the same place. I will also place these videos in my crochet along / make along folder if they're not already in there. It's going to be in the playlist. All right. Along with the other crochet alongs and make alongs. So I had a lot of fun making this. It's really simple. It's just a matter of learning the process. But once you learn the process, it's super, super easy. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip us back around so you can see my face and we can talk and hang out and I can answer questions. Okay. So let me go ahead and flip you guys around. Okay. You're going to look at the ceiling for a second and then I'll have you back around. Come on. There we go. All right. So here we are. Perfect. Love it. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on. I'm going to put it on and you guys are super close. Not that I don't mind you being super close. Hold on. I'm rolling over my cardi here. Okay. Let's do that. Okay. I have my table and my lighting in the most inconvenient place in the room, right in the middle. Okay. So this is what it looks like with the ribbing on. It literally touches my neck. It goes exactly where you want it to go. It's perfect. So yeah. Anybody have any questions? I'm here for you. 100% undivided attention. I want to be able to walk you guys through this. This is my very first wearable make-along. Hopefully it was good. As a beginner wearable maker, I have tried so many times and failed just as many times, but you have made it so much easier to understand and construct. Everyone is getting a cardigan for Christmas. I love it. I love it. And the thing that I want to tell you guys, if you guys have any questions regarding this crochet along, regarding the construction, regarding how to put pieces together, we do have an available email address that you guys can reach out to. We recently changed the email address. We had a really long email address before. It was like jtyasquirrelsquad@gmail.com. A lot of people were having issues spelling the word squirrel, and I don't blame them. It's like a long word, right? So we changed it. We shortened it. We made it an easier email for you guys to be able to reach out to us in the event that you guys have any questions. If Kim, could you please drop that email for everyone, please? So it's teamjtya@gmail.com. It's so easy to remember. You're going to have your questions sent to the team, so the team will be able to receive your email and help you in a timely fashion in the event that you have any questions about the make along. Okay. Let's see. So, oh yes, pockets. So for those of you guys who are wanting pockets, there are two different ways to install your pockets. You can do a patch pocket, which is you crochet your square, you crochet a square, and you whip stitch it to your cardigan. The easiest and most fundamental way of making a pocket is to count your stitches across. How wide do you want your pocket? Count your stitches across your front panel according to how wide you want your pocket. So if you want your pocket 20 stitches wide, in terms of what you see here, 20 stitches wide, you chain 20, you make your square back and forth. You can make your pocket as deep as you want, and when it's done, you just whip stitch it. And what I mean by whip stitching is you are grabbing your needle. Hold on one second. You're going to grab your needle and then you're going to thread it and you're going to sew it. You're going to sew up your sides and your bottom. That's the easiest way to make a pocket. The other way, without having to, I'm talking about the pockets right now, Jeannie. So the other way is an anchored pocket. So what I will do is show you guys how to do an anchor pocket because it's my go-to. I like to think about it as a way that it secures the bottom part of the pocket. I won't have to worry about the bottom part of my pocket like breaking open in the future. I can always whip stitch the sides, which is what we're going to do. We anchor the bottom row in, and then we go back and forth. We're literally going to anchor our row in and create this panel it's going to go up and away from the work. And then we take those two sides and lay them down on the project and whip stitch the two sides. So you have a choice. You can whip stitch all three sides or just whip stitch the two sides. It's completely up to you. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take us back to the tutorial table and I'm going to show you guys how to anchor your stitches. It's literally a front post stitch. You're going to lay your project flat and you're going to do a front post stitch across for the width of your project for your first row, and you're just going to go back and forth until you get to the depth that you're looking for. So I will show you guys how to do that if you want me to. It's pretty straightforward, but I don't mind showing you guys as we have crocheters of all levels here. So I'm going to show you, and we're going to go back onto a field trip. Tina, thank you so much for joining the club. Welcome to the fellows. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go ahead. We're going to flip. And actually, let's go this way. And let's go this way. Okay. So. Okay. Let's go back this way. All right. So you're going to begin your cardigan on the front, okay? Now, what you want to do, let me just make sure you can see all of it. Okay, so here is my fault line. This is my front panel. This is my back panel. This is my ribbing. All right, so what you want to do is you want to remember or count your stitches across. Okay, you're going to want to know what this number is. For me, it's 30. I remember from when I made my front panel, 30. Now, how wide or how deep you make your pocket is completely up to you. My general rule of thumb is I like to have my pockets be the width of 2 of my hands. That's just me. And if you look, I have equal amount of space on both sides. So just by looking, I know that my pocket will need to be 20 stitches. So I have 5 on this side and 5 on this side. Okay. Hold on one second. Oh, thank you so much, Krista. Huge hugs to you. Thank you so much for your kind words. Now, you want to make sure that your pocket is placed appropriately, right? No one likes a crooked pocket. So here's what I'm going to tell you. What I would do is make sure that my pocket is centered on all 3 sides. So if my pocket is going to be 20 stitches wide with 5 here, 5 here, I need to do 5 here. Okay? So that will center my pocket. Now, remember what I said about the height of stitches, right? So if you're doing rows of double crochet, your stitches count as 2. Remember 2 post stitches? So if these were double crochet stitches, I would have to do skip this row, that's 4. And then I would start in the middle of the 3rd row. But these are half double crochets. So it's 1.5. So I'm going to go in 5 stitches on this side and in 5 stitches on this side. But as far as the bottom is concerned, I'm half double crochet. So 1, and then in the middle, that's 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that is kind of where I need to be, right there. And you can eyeball it. And if you want, use stitch markers. They're your friends. So use your stitch markers. I like to start with the bottom to figure out like where my starting row is. So this is row 1. So remember, I'm doing 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So right here is where the bottom of my pocket will be. And then over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the bottom of my pocket, and these are the sides. So is it a big pocket? Yes. Why is it a big pocket? Because I'm a big person and I want a big pocket. Now, what I want to tell you is, how deep do you traditionally make a pocket? So when you put your hand into a pocket, you want your hand to go all in the pocket, right? Yes, you do. So I make it the length of my hand. So right here, right at your wrist, okay? You're going to place your stitch marker at the tippy top right here. See where my middle finger is? You're going to place your stitch marker right above your middle finger. Right above your middle finger. And that's called a deep pocket. Some people don't really care for the deep pockets. I actually love deep pockets. So, you can't really catch it all on here, but you can kind of start to see the size of the pocket, right? So again, just to recap, guys, make sure you center your pocket, whatever size it is. Now, mind you, let's say you want a skinny pocket, right? That's 10 stitches and 10 stitches. You're not going to go up 10 stitches. It's going to look cattywampus. So just be mindful on, make sure you don't come all the way up here with your pocket. Make sure it's decently centered. Use your best judgment. Again, there's no black and white rules when it comes to this. Just try to apply common sense when you're making your pocket, when you're doing these things. So if you're centering your pocket, you're going to center it on all three sides, okay? 5 stitches in, 5 stitches in, 5 stitches up, okay? So you are literally going to make sure, see, that's why I put this here, okay? You're going to take this stitch marker and put it right at your wrist. You're going to lay your hand flat, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to put your stitch marker above your middle finger. That's for a deep pocket. Now, if you don't want a deep pocket, okay, some people, they don't really want the deep pocket. What I do is I lower my hand to this first bone right here. See that bone right there? I bring it all the way down to here. And then I place the stitch marker right here. And that's just a traditional pocket where you put, tissues, nothing too deep. But we're yarn addicts, right? I need places to put my little balls of yarn. So deep pockets it is. So that's the deep pocket measurement. Does anybody have any questions about that? I just want to make sure you guys got the recipe for pockets, pocket size. All right, because you can't really start making a pocket until you figured out how big your pocket is actually going to be. All right, so these are your landmarks. All right, so you're going to begin your pocket right here. You're going to go all the way across this row to here, your anchor row. Your anchor row is going to be a front post stitch, okay? And you're going to go back and forth, and your work is going to come up. You're not going to attach it. You're going to work up. And you're going to keep laying your work down until you get to this part right here. Keep laying it down, and once it gets to that point, you're going to tie off and then whip stitch your sides up. Now, some people will say, well, why can't you just attach to your work? Well, that's because you are chaining up and turning your work. Well, it's kind of hard to do on the ends that you're actually not connecting to. And you can if you want, but again, I have to make this universal for everybody at all levels of crochet. So the beginners are not going to know how to do that. And, for now, you're going to create these panels and you're going to lay them down and just create the whip stitches and go back and forth here. Okay. So I'm going to grab my yarn and I'm going to show you how I do my anchor. All right, so I'm just going to grab my Premier Puzzle and my Red Heart Super Saver blue yarn. And I am going to begin right here at this stitch marker. And I'm so sorry, guys, this is dark yarn. It is not tutorial worthy, but these are the colors that I wanted my cardigan to be. So just bear with me. And for those who really need to know how to do this, just be patient, please. All right. So your pocket needs to be with the same size crochet hook as your panel. All right, so I used an 8mm crochet hook for my panel, so my pocket will also be used with the same hook. So I'm going to create a slip knot on my hook like so, like that. Okay, so from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I begin at stitch number 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm literally only going to go around the post. So now that I have that there, let me take that off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to insert my hook around the post. I'm going to draw a loop, bring that loop up, yarn over, and go through both. Now, your anchor row needs to be single crochets. So it's a front post single crochet anchor stitch. You're going to go around the next one. You're going to draw that loop, yarn over, go through both. And you're going to do that all the way across. It's a little bit of work because you have to hold your work up so you can go around the post. It's like surface crochet. And what you're doing here is you are creating the front post and the back, or I'm sorry, the front loop and the back loop of your pocket. And I'm literally just going to go from here and go all the way across. So this may take me a moment. But yeah, so single crochet, front post single crochet, and you want to make sure that you stay on the same row. Sometimes, you know, we may miss a thing or two and we wind up on the wrong row. Just keep checking your work. And I can't stress this enough, guys. Stitch markers are your friends. If you don't have stitch markers, use pieces of yarn. All right. So we're just going to go around the post, pull that through. And you can see how the pocket is starting here. All right. That's the start of the pocket. Now, if you want, you can make your pocket all single crochets. It's literally up to you. You can make a very tight, dense pocket if you want. Again, I'm using half double crochets, so for me, my half double crochet pocket is absolutely fine. I'm okay with it. But if you have like a treble crochet cardigan, you're not going to want a treble crochet pocket. That's entirely too many holes. So feel free to use a single crochet stitch all the way up. Completely up to you. All right. So we're just going to go around the posts. Just like that. This is going to take me a moment. This first row here does not go fast. So you just want to make sure you get it right. Take your time. Don't rush. Nobody likes the hole at the bottom of their pocket. All right. So let me just grab some more yarn. Thank you guys so much for your patience. I mean, when it comes to doing things like this live, you know, we don't have the luxury of the edit button. Some of these moments do take longer than others. So thank you so much for being patient with me while I get my foundation, my anchor row onto my work. I'm super concentrating on making sure that my stitches are nice and even because this is the outside of my work. People will see this. And, oops. Just going to go to the next one and we're going to keep going until I get to that stitch marker. And before I remove that stitch marker, I'm going to verify that I have 5 stitches until I get to the, oops, hold on. Okay, so I'm at the stitch marker. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So yes, always verify so we don't have to frog later. So we're going to go right around that post. And there you have it. So that is going to be the width of my pocket. All right. So from here, I'm going to do the half double crochet. So half double crochet requires 2 chains. And then from here, I'm going to have to flip my work. All right. So let me just move my yarn out of the way. All right. And I'm going to literally just take my work and turn it around. I'm going to keep this stitch marker right there because that's going to tell me how far up I need to go. All right. And so I mentioned this earlier, but for the beginners who need to know the answer to this question, because it is a very commonly asked question. So when you chain up, where do you place your first stitch? And that's literally up to you, but whatever you decide, be consistent with it. So if you chain up and you're counting that chain as a stitch, what you're going to do is skip this very first stitch and you're going to go to the second one, and you need to do that every single row. If you're not counting it as a stitch, you're going to remove one of the chains because it will eliminate the bumps or as much of a bump. Or you can do stacked singles. It's completely up to you, but whatever you decide to do, be consistent with it, okay? We have a question. Hold on, let me see. Could the rows from the bottom of the pocket to the row? I mentioned that earlier, Amber. If you want to do that, you can. I need to make this universal for people who don't know how to do that, or who are not comfortable doing that. But if you know how to do that, by all means, go ahead and do it. So for now, I'm going to count this as a stitch. And so I'm going to go into the second stitch with my actual stitch, which is a half double crochet. And I'm going to yarn over, go into the stitch, just go through all of my loops, like so, like that. And from here, it's cake. I'm just literally going back and forth. Okay. Now, once I get to the other side, hold on, let me get to the other side. So the rows will go pretty fast at this point. And the thing that I really like about the bottom of my pocket being this way is you don't really see, like, I know that whatever I put at the bottom of this pocket, nothing's coming through it. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you, hold on, got to pull up more yarn. So half double crochets all the way across. So I mentioned earlier, you can anchor your stitches on the sides as you go up. It is a little bit of a challenge because I don't know what stitches you're using, and I don't want to give you the direction to do this if by chance it doesn't work for the stitch that you are using. But if it works and you want to anchor your stitches as you work your project, so this is the bottom of my work, what you want to do is take the work and flip it back around. There's a lot of flipping when you're making pockets, this way anyway. Otherwise, you can make your panels and sew them on. When you come up, like you're at the end of the row here, you can literally attach your stitch. And again, only do this if you're comfortable doing it. You can literally go around the post of the stitch behind it. So if you look, let me just make a bunny ear here. If you don't want to whip stitch and you want to attach your work as you go, you can do that. You're going to literally measure up and place your hook around the post of the stitch of the row that you're at. You're going to yarn around and pull through. Just like that. And then you're going to chain one, and then you're going to, well, it depends on how you're working your rows, but yeah, you can anchor your stitches as you go if you want, or you can whip stitch. But again, if that's not what you're comfortable doing, you don't have to do that. Okay. But If you guys are comfortable, that's how you do it. So I'm going to pull this back. I'm at the end of the row here. I removed my hook. Okay. I reattached my hook from here. What you're doing is you're laying your work flat, and the post that's right there is where you're going to wrap your hook around. You're going to yarn over and pull through just like that. When you're working with more than one yarn, it is a little tricky. And this is a really good hook, and stitches tend to get wrapped up around the head of that hook. Okay. So again, go around the post very carefully. Wrap your yarn around and pull through. And for my stitch, I need a chain one here. So then I'm going to go, since I'm chaining up and I'm counting this as a stitch, then I go into the next one here. If I'm not counting it as a stitch, I need to go into the first one. So again, you make your choice and you be consistent with whatever you're choosing. Half double crochet in each stitch, and as you can see, it does anchor on here. But if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you don't have to do that. You can literally just whip stitch. Okay. I'm sorry if I'm missing comments. I'm super concentrating. Thank you, Juan. I'm going to make mine with the hood and pockets. Thank you for showing how. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. How many Boggy Creek? Sorry, that's not a question for this, Mal. Moving on to second side panel. Love that. Super, super nice. And okay. So again, you can make your panel detached completely and then sew your sides on. And again, how many times you wrap around your stitches is completely up to you. Or you can attach your work as you go. And you saw how I did that. So, any questions about that now that I can actually see? I'm sorry, I had the camera all the way up. I couldn't see any of the comments. Let me see. Let's see. Let's see. Thank you, Juan. I'm going to, okay. Any questions? Hopefully this was thorough enough, guys. Again, if you have questions, we have a new email address. Feel free to use it. I will include that in the show notes as well. Kim, if you could, please drop that email in the chat again for those who may need that email address, since it is new to our channel and we want to make sure that everyone has access to it. teamjtya@gmail.com, which is a lot easier than jtyasquirrelsquad@gmail.com. All right. Okay. So with that, guys, thank you so much for participating in this cal. Thank you so much for being here. I'm super happy and glad that we finally got this one under our belt. I'm going to write out notes and I'm going to put them in the post tab for those of you guys who need them. You will always be able to refer back to them in the event that you decide to make this later on in the future. Okay, so thank you guys so much for your time. Thank you for participating, and I shall see you guys on the next one. Bon says, is it possible to join the sides? Yes, you can. Yep, it's called the whip stitch. You can stitch it up. All right. So that is all from me for now, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Take care, guys. Bye.